Welcome to Healing with the Diamonds podcast. This show features Larry and Lynne Diamond, along with guests who are passionate about helping families heal together. Through personal stories and powerful conversations, you'll hear real-life experiences and practical tools for reclaiming health. Please note, the information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your health routine. Now, here's today's episode.
Hello, everyone. I am Larry Diamond.
And I'm Lynne Diamond.
And together we are Healing with the Diamonds. This is our episode 1. We started Healing with the Diamonds because we have and are continuing to have an amazing family health journey. I know I felt like I got a second chance at life, a second chance in a healthy life. Yeah. So what we use, and we've lost a combined almost 200 pounds, 120 pounds for me.
70 pounds for me.
And we did that using ancestral wisdom that is being rediscovered by modern science, whole real food that we loved, nature time, and kind of to summarize what we did as a whole, really joyful practices. So I started feeling better before the weight came off. And unlike any other time, I felt great and I was loving my quote unquote diet food. And that changed everything for me.
Yeah, I know, because for both of us before, anytime we had tried to lose weight or get healthy, it was torture, for lack of a better word, at least for me, just doing the really restrictive eating, the move more, eat less.
I call us actually the world's worst dieters. So we would only last about 2 or 3 weeks. So it's really ironic that we lost not only the 200 pounds combined almost, but that we've kept it off and we've continued to get healthier and healthier.
And we feel that the way that we did it together as a family, how we've influenced other families, was so integral. And it was really, for lack of a better word, easy in a lot of respects compared to everything else we did. We wanted to share this with everyone else. And we didn't do it by buying different products. We didn't do it by investing in certain programs. We just kind of did it with ancestral wisdom. And we want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to heal themselves and their family. So that's why we're here. And
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, yeah. And when we first started healing together, people started taking notice. We were interviewed on lots of different podcasts, and it was a great experience. And we thought, what a better way to start our own first podcast than to interview each other and ask each other about this. So a little different perspective on our origin story. So I'm going to put you on the hot seat first. I'm going to ask you that first question. You often talk about your pre-journey and how crucial it was for you and later on the clients you worked with. Can you tell our listeners about your pre-journey and also the thoughts and the feelings you had coming up before your go time?
I think all of us experience this in many facets of our life, that change is hard, and the known, the routine, the comfortable, even if it's not everything that we want, we know it, we're doing it, and the unknown can be scary. And what if we don't succeed? We can kind of have this creeping acceptance of our personal status quo. And I think in retrospect, one of the greatest gifts the universe gave to me was that I was getting really sick at a young age. Yes, I was morbidly obese. We'll go over that. But I was also really sick. And then also one of the great gifts the universe gave to me was I kept questioning the narrative that my severe allergies, my severe IBS, my sleep apnea, my depression, my joint pain, all of those were genetic. What if they were lifestyle? And to me, that was fantastic, because if they were lifestyle, then I was the entity, the power that could change things for control. The better.
Yeah.
Agency.
Yeah. Right.
There's that great word.
Yeah, you had to take responsibility for it.
Yes, responsibility, my ability to respond that I was the cause of my suffering, essentially. I didn't have what I felt a great quality of life. I had a great wife. I enjoyed my job, great daughter, but I was really sick and weak and depressed. And I think I went over the severe allergies. And I was also always hungry and morbidly obese. And that was interesting. So, those were some of the things about my pre journey. There was also a significant part of my pre journey that wasn't me personally, but it was that my beloved uncle, beloved by the whole family, the person who was my best friend growing up, and I didn't know my bio dad. So he played the role of father, and we wanted him to live with us and share his incredible soul and wisdom with our daughter. He did not move in with us. He continued to live in California. We live in Texas. And so, unknown to us, he had gotten severe Alzheimer's, and we were his primary caregivers.
Eventually. So he did eventually move in with us.
Yes.
Yeah, became his caregivers.
But that was so sad for me because he didn't move in as the healthy, vibrant person. I saw me passing by 50, to be frank, and so I was 47 at the time.
You were looking at him and looking at his lifestyle that he had led for a long time and kind of projecting out that that's the road that you were going down.
Yeah, and we ate similarly, and I also realized he was in his, I believe, late 60s at the time, maybe early 70s, but he had had more real food growing up than I did. Mm-hmm. So I saw, if not a heart attack, dementia, things coming down the pike. I was actually an athlete growing up. I was playing tennis still. I was, and we love hiking. I love physical movement. I wanted to be an active dad. So there was a bunch of thinking about change, I would say, thinking about change, thinking about wanting to try again, but I wasn't willing to try again with crappy, low fat food, calorie reduction. Have you ever seen me in our 20 plus years together ever count a calorie?
No, I have not.
Yeah. Have you ever seen me enjoy low fat food?
No, I have not.
Have you ever seen me enjoy being hungry?
Well, that brings me to, can we actually talk about the go time?
And absolutely.
So your go time, you say is May 1st, 2013. And I remember you came home and you said, I'm not buying bread again. I'm not buying pasta again. You had been doing a lot of research into questions. Why is fat bad? Why am I always hungry? I'm morbidly obese, but I'm still hungry all the time.
Yeah, what's up with that?
And so I remember that. Can you talk us through those early months and kind of what helped you just decide, hey, this is go time?
And I want to give a shout out. 2013 was just a wonderful time for great healing information. Dr. David Perlmutter, so great, author of Grain Brain and lots of other incredible books. He had a PBS special. What was interesting was, I remember, I haven't brought this up a lot, and it was a defense mechanism because I think of all the foods in the modern world. Probably for me personally, there's some overlaps, but each one's unique. I was probably most addicted to wheat, and wheat's everywhere. So I actually remember having this response, and it was a not wanting to change response. Wheat's fine. Those people are hypochondriacs. They're exaggerating things.
Interesting.
But my subconscious or something kept working, and also William Davis and Wheat Belly. So the part of the pre-journey, I couldn't get it out of my head. What if it is the wheat? What if it is the refined carbs, the sugar? What if I'm hungry? I didn't know what I came to know about insulin resistance and hormones, but there's got to be something. Why do I have all this extra body fat that I can't get to? Why is my body fat locked away? So I did start saying, what if Dr. Perlmutter and Dr. Davis were correct? Maybe let's give it a try. And I've tried everything else but giving up wheat.
So
Maybe the opposite, do the opposite. The Jason from Jerry Seinfeld. I was excited. I wanted change. And part of me also was losing my fear of fat. You're right. I put into a search engine a simple word. So we as kind of citizens of the modern world, repeat fat is bad, almost like a mantra. Mm-hmm. And I did the unimaginable. I actually put in, why is fat? And I quickly came across the story of Ansel Keys. Ooh. And I've been in a master's PhD program. I started in chemical engineering, molecular biology, but my degrees are in geography, because I'm fascinated about human relationship with the environment. But I have a solid science background. And I have a really good science background because I was a high school science teacher. And we're the real deal. We don't mess around. And I found out about the basis for especially saturated fat being bad was the 6-country study followed by the 7-country study. And long story short, there's a great book called Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz. But suffice it to say that the evidence for fat being bad is actually what I would consider as a high school science teacher, fraudulent F- science, because it was cherry picked.
Right. How many countries were in?
There were 21 countries.
21 countries. And he picked 6.
He picked 6, and somebody did it. He picked the 6. There's 35,000 permutations. He picked the 6 that would show a correlation, supposed correlation between saturated fat and heart disease. And other researchers have looked. Latitude actually was more explanatory because of nature time and vitamin D and the anti-inflammatory. And also sugar was more explanatory. So it was super fraudulent. I lost my fear of particularly natural fats with my ancestral background. So there's a saying that nothing makes sense in biology except in the lens of evolution. So I had this ancestral background. Red meat can't be bad. That's
that's how we evolved.
And healthy natural fats can't be bad, and seed oils can't be good. And everything went to heck in a handbasket with the seed oil. And the other fantastic thing is these fatty foods taste great. They're known as a decadent way of eating. Mm-hmm. So, and they're nutrient dense, right, and they're very satiating. They keep you satiated for a long time. What I did the first month of my journey was basically as frequently as I needed that month to literally take the bun off and have this amazing fatty real food, and as much of it as I needed. So eating absolutely as much as I needed whenever I was hungry, but changing what I was eating. I still lost 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Beyond that, my severe IBS was 80-90% resolved. I was keeping it from you. At my workplace, I would get such intense pain after eating that I would be brought to my knees, and I would do my best not to yell out. And the pain went away, and within the first month, the bloody stools went away. My hunger went down more in 1 month than in decades, more energy. I made the internal commitment, I'm going to eat this way for the rest of my life. If I go up 100 pounds, which I knew wouldn't happen, or lose 100 pounds. That's how I got started.
I would see this too, and I would see the hamburger patties and the meat
and the veg.
And the veg,
yeah. It was like meat and a veg.
Right, and I was going to say the veg with butter. Right. So yes, there was veg, but it had butter on it,
and salt.
And I was seeing all of this, and it was really interesting to kind of take it in and watch what was happening. And we'll talk more about this when I kind of start to share my story, but it was very revealing. I was seeing the opposite of what everyone said was supposed to happen when you eat all those foods in you. But I want to talk a little bit more. So we get to the fall. You started in May. We get fall of 2013. You kind of stumbled into something that we've became very familiar with. You stumbled into intermittent fasting. We didn't really know what that was at the time. You started exercising with a couch to 5K. So tell me a little bit about the second part of your year.
Yeah, so I was clearly resolving insulin resistance, something called leptin resistance. My gut was getting much healthier. Chronic inflammation was going down. So many more nutrients. Insulin is the fat storage hormone. It's the energy storage hormone. So the reason none of us can succeed with low-fat, standard modern diets, everything in moderation, is that those diets produce too much insulin, especially if we combine them with 6 meals a day. So there's such high insulin that our fat is still locked away. So they're really tragic. Conventional advice is super tragic. But everything I had stumbled upon lowered insulin. So I could start going long periods of time without having to eat, which was like a miracle. It was literally a miracle because my insulin had gotten low enough on high fat, low carb way of eating that I could burn body fat during the day, lots and lots of body fat. So I found myself skipping meals and more often than not, just eating 1 meal a day. And I didn't even know the word fasting, so I called it not eating because I wasn't hungry.
It's super catchy.
Yeah. Who needs the word intermittent fasting? It's called not eating because I'm not hungry.
I like it because it gives you much more of participation. It like intermittent fasting sometimes feels like it's being forced on you, but no, you were just choosing not to eat because your body wasn't giving you those signals that you needed to eat.
And by not eating, I still had more energy. I mean, going back to the fall, I no longer had the 2:00 slump. It was unbelievable. Now thinking about it, if you had told me that's what my day would look like back in May, I would have said, you crazy. So I'd gotten so much energy that I started a couch to 5K. And it was one of my lifelong dreams because I always had asthma growing up, exercise-induced asthma. And I was known as Cherry Diamond during every 6-minute run. I think it was a 6 or 8-minute run because I would get beet red. So it really annoyed me. I was athletic over short distances. I was that all-star in basketball I mentioned, so short distances, but I always wanted to run. So I started running actually late at night, if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, instead of...
After the little one was asleep.
Yeah, I would go out, I would put the Hard Knocks theme song on, and yeah, I actually made it to a 5K by January of 2014. But the fall was just going beyond my wildest dreams. I did have a blood work, and my triglycerides had always been 200. So I started in May. I had one in October. They were 95. Yeah. So they had
that's amazing. Yeah.
It was amazing. I think now it's your time for the hot seat.
Oh, my time for that too. Okay. All right. Let me get ready here. Okay.
Yeah. So we were in the fall of 2013. I was still doing my couch to 5K. By December of that year, I had lost about 60 pounds. Mm-hmm. So and I was a slow starter. I wasn't even really paying that much attention. I was losing an inch off my waist every other week. Like
we had to keep buying you new jeans. Every couple of weeks, we were forking out money for new jeans, and so that was one of the first things that really caught my attention. Is wait, okay, so he's losing so much weight that we're buying him new jeans every couple of weeks. You were also not complaining about what you were eating. You were doing the bulk of the cooking because we had Stu living with us at the time, and I was working with him, helping him most of the time. You were cooking. I was happy to let you cook. That's
super simple meals.
Very simple, yeah.
1-pan meals, slow cooker, Instapot.
Meat and veg.
Yeah.
And you weren't complaining. And, we had a toddler at the time, and I noticed that you had so much more energy and you weren't as angry all the time or hangry. And
Yeah.
well, and then December comes and we go to visit my dad, who hadn't seen him. He lives, about 10 hours away. And we go to visit, and my dad could not stop gushing about how great you looked, how much weight you had lost. He was just so complimentary of everything you were doing and how you looked. And I will be honest, we talk about our whys, and my whys, some of the more serious ones, some of the more surface level. One of my was I wanted to lose some weight, and I saw you doing it very effortlessly, and that has never been my experience. And so I thought he seems to have a win-win here. He's losing this weight without a lot of effort. It seemed he was happier, not hungry all the time, and that's something I wanted. And otherwise, where we had a 2, almost 3-year-old, so we were older first-time parents. Larry talks about we were both really sick. He suffered from depression and anxiety. I was achy all over. I couldn't sleep through the night without shifting and waking up because my hips ached, my knees ached, and I couldn't go up and down the stairs without feeling that, hearing the pops and crackles. And before you started your journey, I really thought that was just our lot in life. I thought, you know what? I've heard this about middle age. This is just where we are. It's my lot in life to be this size and be uncomfortable and be sick. And so, but then I started seeing those changes as you. And my go time was January 2nd of 2014. And, one of the things that was really important for me was you had already been doing the cooking at home, right? And we had committed to that at home, and I was fully committed. I wasn't bringing.
Did you enjoy the meals?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that you cooked them too. That was a good thing. But yes, no, I did. They were flavorful. They were delicious. They were simple.
We had lost our fear of salt.
We did.
They were well
right.
salted.
They're well salted, well seasoned, nourishing with the butter and the olive oil and the nutrient dense, foods that we were eating. What my next move was to take this way of eating and really take it outside of the home. And so as a teacher, at the time, I had the opportunity to go out and eat a lot. I had the opportunity to go out with friends, or the break room, teachers, break rooms.
Oh, K culture.
K culture, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I finally just made the choice that I would take what we were doing at home and I would bring it to school and everywhere outside of school. Yeah, so I started, and I too was a slow starter, right? I did not lose a lot of weight in the first couple of months, but I do remember what helped me the most, and that's when you suggested another change. The wheat, the pasta was the first thing. Seed oils soon after that, but then you said, "Hey, I've heard that."
Well, I had gone from wheat free, but keeping corn in. And then I kept researching and thinking and found out that corn, both regular corn and certainly GMO corn, also has a high percentage of gluten proteins in it. We hear gluten's only in wheat, barley, and rye, but Dr. Peter Osborne, No Grain, No Pain, there's gluten-like proteins in every single grain. And corn is after wheat with the highest percentage of gluten proteins out of total proteins. So I had transitioned to grain-free and was feeling over the moon, feeling fantastic. So that's why I broached it to you.
You came up with an experiment. You said, hey, how about this? This is what we know about corn. Guess what? It has some gluten in it. Let's try an experiment where you give up corn and let's see how you do. Let's just see what results there are. And, later on we can bring it back in if, it's not working for you.
Or bring it back in and see if it did help. If the aches come back.
Right. So when I first heard him suggest this, let's just say.
I was not a popular husband.
Let's just say it wasn't what I wanted to hear. Corn was much more important to me at that time in my eating than wheat and pasta. Like, I'm from the Southwest. Corn chips, corn bread, sweet corn,
fried corn.
It was just so much a part of my comfort food growing up. And so I heard that, and later on I wrote an article called Kicking and Screaming. Part of the title was Kicking and Screaming. And that's what I felt in my brain when he suggested, oh, you're not going to take corn away from me. But the more sane part of me kind of kicked in, and I said, why not? I can always go back, right? So why not try it? And amazingly enough, within a few weeks maybe even sooner than a few weeks, my hip pain had gone away, my joint pain. I was sleeping through the night. I was much more physically able to get up and down stairs, pick up, put down a toddler. And I was pretty much sold at the time. I did do the experiment, right? So I went out with friends, and I had some tortilla chips with friends out, and within a day, the joint pain had come back. And my skin. So I had really bad psoriasis and rosacea, and that had started clearing up. My skin was a lot clearer. Overall felt better after eating corn. My skin started getting red and reacting again. Hip joint pain came back. And for lack of a better word, I was a little more muddle-headed as well. So that really, really cinched it for me. Like, no, this is the way I'm going to choose to eat, because it was not worth it to choose those foods when it made me feel so poorly, right? I had that point where Larry talked about, I would eat this way even if I gained weight. I had a little bit of that because I was really starting to feel good, and I had only lost a little bit. And I wanted those jeans. I wanted new jeans. And so I kept with it. I did get new jeans.
Right. So
that was my go time. And that's where kind of I started. And then, and then I got closer to summer, and we had the time where, so I ended up having to have surgery, and I knew, or the doctor let me know, that after surgery, I wasn't going to be able to move around a lot. I wasn't going to be able to exercise. I had started walking more. I was really excited about the fact that I felt good enough to move more, because I know movement's important, but we knew I needed to have the surgery. And so I had the surgery at the beginning of the summer. So all summer I sat around and I continued to eat the way we had done, both of us had done since January. And I lost 20 more pounds. So up until that point, I've lost about 10 to 15.
Yeah. So in 5 full months.
Yeah.
And then, you lost 20 to 25 in 9 weeks. And I remember, and you went back, you're a teacher, you went back after the 9 weeks, and people were like, what
in the world have you done?
Yeah.
Yes. If Ozempic had been around at the time, I'm sure people would have thought that was what I was doing. But I felt great. It was amazing. And I knew I got my new jeans, and I wasn't going to stop there. And I knew that this was something that I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I'm so grateful for you and, your interest in it, and your interest in our family, and the fact that you continue to update me with all the things that you've learned. You absorb information so much, you read so much, and you get it, and you put it into really digestible chunks. And I was able to get that every morning. I had like a TED Talk every morning at 5 o'clock when I woke up. I'd hear about the latest things that you had learned. And that helped me continue to reinforce my whys and help me to continue making those choices until it was really just effortless as well.
Awesome. And we've talked a lot about me cooking. You are an amazing cook, and you joined in. And I remember very early in our journey, we met somebody. I can't remember I think they were grain free. They were certainly low carb. And they're like, if you go to a search engine and you put in anything that you enjoy eating, but put the words low carb, or maybe low carb and grain free, there's going to be 10,000 or more recipe hits. So people ask us, if you had to summarize why both of you succeeded, how do two of the world's worst dieters become the successes that we did? I use the term food freedom, and To me, I define it, I've heard other people define it similarly, as a way of eating we love that loves us back. So can you kind of tell our audience some of the changes in your cooking at home? You've always been the big holiday cooker, and you were making grain-free and healthy desserts. And I kind of remind some of my coaching clients that the word treat used to refer to not being frequent, like the infrequency.
Right.
So, and it depends on the person where they're at their journey. It's highly individual. But I remember even before you were grain free, you made a grain free Thanksgiving, that first one in 2013. And then since then. So, can you talk about what food freedom means to you and how important cooking at home was to our journey? Continuing to figure out really, because we both love food. I think
We do.
these amazing, I don't want to call them recreations, but different ways of cooking some of our old favorites, and maybe even a little bit of how we changed at restaurants.
Okay,
So it's yeah.
Well, so given the fact that we both do love food, I think this is one of the reasons this way of life really worked for us. The fact that we could eat delicious, nutrient dense foods on a regular basis, indulge in them on a regular basis, and continue to feel good and be healthy. So, as far as how it changed my kind of the way we did things at home, I remember before, when I would look for kind of anchors to our meals, the anchor was always the carb. Are we doing pasta with this? Are we doing potatoes with this? I really started changing, and the anchor was the protein. To this day, we talk about, so what proteins are we going to focus on this week? What proteins are we having today or in the next couple of days, so we can start to prep? I think my mindset changed, anchoring around the protein and what we could do with that. And then the fat that we were going to cook with it, right? Because the nutrient dense fat. So butter, tallow, lard. Now that was a huge change. I remember those in both grandmothers' kitchens. And then both grandmothers heard this new dietary advice and took out the lard and took out the tallow and reintroduced vegetable shortening. And so having to relearn that those fats were actually good, and
boy, do they make things taste better.
So much better.
Lard and my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
So I found that even though these were very simple changes, seasoning, good quality fats, a good protein, I was able to make amazing meals very simply, and everyone in our household was happy with them. And it made things simpler for me at school, because I would just make more of it and then just take it to school. I'm okay with leftovers. I just throw them in a container, and that made my food prep for work just so much more simple. And for whatever reason, when we didn't have leftovers, it was boiled eggs, a cheese stick, and an avocado right there, or a boiled
Lots
eggs,
of protein.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
or a meat stick. But they were simple. Right, simple ways.
If you're not around people, you can have some sardines or tuna.
Yes, those were harder to take to school.
Leftover meats. I liked cooking either in the slow cooker or Instapot big roast. Mm-hmm. Then I would literally just take a chunk of it into work and a hard-boiled egg and an avocado, like you said. And so much more time for life when you're not hungry all the time. You were doing one meal a day too. Very quickly, 1 and 2 meals a day was your fasting that got you that 70-pound weight loss in like months. Yeah, 70 pounds in 11 months, mid-fees, chronic inflammation for decades. And did it kind of melt off you like it melted off me? It certainly did in that summer. That's why having patience and trusting the process, because what was going on was the whole real food and the intermittent fasting are the practices that make our body healthy. But I think for both of us, our bodies were prioritizing healing first.
And they got podcast about that, right? And because I think that when I started talking to my friends about what I was doing, some of them had said, oh, I tried that for 30 days. It didn't work for me. Oh, I tried that. And I think some of them were describing like the carb flu, right?
Right. They just maybe became fat adapted and the good things were about to happen, but then they gave
But
up.
then they stopped. And
Yeah.
so I think by obviously continuing it and seeing it through, my body was able to heal to the point it healed so much. Then once I healed, my body went, okay, we can drop this fat now. You're better. I can release all of that. And I think that is really interesting in itself. And I know we'll talk about this. You'll talk about it in your blog and the newsletter, just like you said, more of the science and how that works. Because, like I said, the things that really helped me continue to hone in on what I was doing was hearing this information from you and then putting it into practice, seeing it work. That just was a great cycle to be in, right? Hearing the stuff, let me put it into practice, let me see if it works for me. That's what I'm hoping for Healing with the Diamonds, that people are able to get this information, they're able to see if it works for themselves and give it the time. Know that it takes a little bit of time and to invest in yourself, and it's so worth it, because that year, right, or at least just the couple of months that we started investing that time where we really committed to making these choices, it has paid off, you know, 12 years down the line. Amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. We can't even imagine. Life's a lot harder and not as good quality when you're sick.
Right.
So, yeah,
Like no medications.
I'm turning 60 soon.
Yeah. So that's pretty amazing.
I had mentioned restaurants, and this can be a whole
That's
episode. Right. You kind of nailed it on the head. We were protein centric here. We would try and replicate it at restaurants. I even got good at grain free and Mexican restaurants. Mm-hmm. And, often that was getting the fajitas and saying, hey, I don't want the rice and beans. Can I get double guac, double sour cream, right, something like that? And then I just got to enjoy the incredible flavors of the salsa and the meat and the guac. And it was a protein and fat meal. Or one of my favorite sayings, ditch the bun, thank you, have some fun. Yes. I mean, yeah, I would, in a pinch, I would go to some of the higher quality burger joints and get a triple patty.
And I think as we continue to share on our website and newsletter, our tips and tricks, these are all things that we're going to share. What worked for us, what didn't work for us. And, a little teaser, we had a toddler at the time, and we changed her food and her nutrition as well. And a lot of amazing things happened. So we will also be sharing about what it's like to raise a real food kid, all the ups and downs. There are many of both. And so I'm really excited about what we are embarking on and what we get to do
together. I love that. And healing's fantastic, but I often say the thing I'm most proud, the most meaningful thing of my existence has been helping you heal. Oh. You did all the work. Kaylin is healthier than she was when I met her 21 plus years ago. To be a part of that is the most gratifying thing for being a husband that I've ever experienced.
That heals together, stays together.
Yep.
work together, stays together. Well, thank you so much for coming and listening to our first podcast. We are going to be sharing more about our healing as we extend it out to our other family members. We have some great other podcasts coming up.
Oh, yeah, some incredible guests. So, our website's up, healingwiththediamonds.com. We're on Instagram, Healing with the Diamonds. There's consulting available on the website, or newsletters coming out, blog posts, community membership options. So a lot of things happening, and we're excited to be part of your family healing. That's why we've done this.
That's a good tagline, a good way to end it. We're excited to be part of your family healing. Oh, that's really good. Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Happy